at the end of the day, it's like what's resonating with you. But if you're finding you're watching video after video after video and it's all resonating with you, girl, do you know what resonates with you at all? Maybe this starts with you, right? Like.
Hey, trashlings! Welcome back to another episode of the Demon Trash Podcast.
Yay!
Wow. Do like an edit there, like a sparkly rainbow.
I'll decide.
Okay. Guys, hi! Welcome back to another episode of the Demon Trash Podcast. It's good to be here. Hey, I've got exciting news.
What?
We were featured in Voyage magazine.
Oh my god, yeah.
And they called us Rising Stars.
Rising Stars. It definitely hasn't gone to our heads at all.
I am not thinking about buying hype beast clothing at all. Like, I'm not thinking that I can afford a house out in the hill country next week. Like, I am fine. I'm so humble, and
I'm not thinking like someone's gonna stop me in the street and be like, "Oh my god, are you
the Demon Trash girls?"
If that happened to me, I would literally.
It's
just
happened
die.
at like events with people in our circles.
No, like
it's podcast
other
circles,
podcasters, but
which
like,
was already impressive.
If I was stopped in the street like right now and be like, "Are you this person?" Like, I guarantee you, like 100%, I would look disgusting.
Oh yeah,
like I'd be sweaty and gross. Like I would also be like working probably.
Yeah, this is all.
So it'd be like, I gotta go.
Like yeah, like oh sorry, I'm headed to the Louis store. I'm really late to pick up my huge shipment of things. Anyway, but yeah, shouts out to Voyage magazine. That was really cool, and linked in our link tree if you guys want to check it out. It's basically interviewing us about our story and all that, and it's fun.
Our story.
How we got started and all that jazz. But we're gonna hop right into it because we are covering a lot today. We got a guest later. Stay tuned. You know her. We love her. We're gonna be talking about tarot, astrology, TikTok, all of it. It's gonna be a good one. So stay tuned. But we're gonna hop right into what we always do, which is our Demon Trash moments.
Rising stars, everyone.
Yeah, like the talent honestly is sickening.
Like the talent in this room.
Like disgusting. Like we should stop. All right. Do you want to go first? Do you want me to go first?
Sure. My demon trash moment is so essentially like as a household, we all started this like workout bet because we're all trying to get our revenge on summer bodies.
I was thinking about this yesterday because you know how Alicia keeps saying, Alicia's our roommate. Alicia keeps saying, like, I'm getting my revenge body. And we're all just like, revenge on who, though?
Yeah.
And I was thinking to myself, literally, this came to me yesterday. I was like, who am I getting revenge on? And I realized myself. I'm getting revenge on myself because, good God. I'm
breaking up with my old self.
And if you're a longtime trashling, we've done this before. And it worked.
It works until it doesn't.
Until a pandemic hits and existential crisis is just like killing you and weighing on you.
Anyway, so we're doing this, to be healthier and I don't know, just to move our bodies because like I feel like I'm turning into a statue.
Also, I'm tired of paying for a gym membership that I don't go to.
Yeah, definitely, for sure. But so the bet is like we first start out working out 3 times a week for an hour for 3 weeks, then it goes up to 4 for 4 weeks and 5 for 5 weeks. So this is a very long like bet.
It's a 12-week program.
A program. But yeah, so we're working out, but the thing is I keep like sabotaging myself because like I've been eating Italian subs for like 3 days in a row. I didn't have one yesterday and I'm proud of myself.
Where are you getting them from?
Well, the first one we had is when we got sandwiches. So from Jimmy John's, and then I went to Jersey Mike's.
Okay.
And I went back to Jimmy John's.
Okay.
But I just feel like if you think about like an Italian sub, so unhealthy. Like probably one of the most unhealthiest thing you could eat, like such processed like meat. Like everyone knows like deli meat is like so bad for you.
Just fat.
So eating literally like a whole charcuterie board to myself in a sandwich.
Yeah, it is essentially a charcuterie board like in a bun.
Yeah.
Like in a sub.
But it's so good.
It is fire.
And I don't know, like I'm just like that kind of person. When I have something that I like, I just want to keep eating it. So like I had one recently like for the first time and I was like, this is fucking fire. So I just want to keep having them.
Yeah.
Like, and I just think about getting another Italian sub and when I can get the next one.
Right.
When is it like appropriate? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's funny because I've kind of had the similar thing where I'm like, I'm working out and it's great. And I'm like trying to be healthy, eating the apple and peanut butter slices instead of going for potato chips. But then throughout the day, I'm just grazing on chocolate bars. So
yeah, for lunch the other day, I had a protein shake and then a side of leftover fries. So like
things are going well, basically. With honestly, I think we just have like way too much unhealthy shit in the house. Like we just don't have healthy stuff.
Yeah, and then we order from like
Trash Manor just like needs.
Yeah, and then we get our groceries delivered, and
veggies.
the produce like is always like trash. Like they brought us potatoes that already had like eyes on them, and that pissed me off.
Yeah.
So we need to like get back into the habit of going to the grocery store.
I think so.
Because I've been like looking like making observations around me. Like I look at what like really skinny people eat, and it's a salad, like 100%. Like
yeah, I mean,
like a tofu salad.
honestly, it's just like a habit, dude. You know, because your body's just like, give me that sugar, give me that fat when you're eating that all the time.
Mm-hmm.
But then when you're like not eating that stuff all the time and you're eating like fruits and veggies, your body's like, give me those fruits and veggies. So that's what. But my body never seems to say.
Yeah,
that.
I'm like, my body's never done that before. Like.
I had a brief stint where that was happening to me, and I thought, you know, am I better than everybody? But it's just that that's gone away. So anyway, well, stop eating Italian subs. Maybe we need to do a diet bet, which we did do briefly, but we discovered that you were a cheater McCheaterson.
Well, it was to eat a salad. It didn't say I couldn't eat anything else.
Okay. It was salad for dinner, I'll have you know.
Salad for dinner.
With a side of another dinner.
With a side of tacos.
Yeah.
But when you only eat like once a day, which I was doing, like it was kind of like, well,
see, then it's your fault.
I'm starving. So
cool. Well,
health is
wealth. All right. So you know how last week we talked about well, I talked about having like fictional men that fill my heart in my mind palace. And I have been reading a lot, and we talked about our favorites, and so you can go there for that. But our last episode. But it turns out, and I love how much I've been reading. I've been reading a lot, listening to Audible and all of these things. And it's great. And I love that I'm back in the habit of doing that. But it turns out that I have one motivator because I'm noticing that I'm starting to get bored, like reading. And I'm like, why am I getting bored? Like this was fulfilling me so much. And then I'm like skimming ahead to find out like, when do these characters ever fuck? Like, is there any fucking in this? Like, is anyone like making out? Is there sex in this? Like, is it steamy? Is there a dark daddy? Like, and then now I'm having to go on like Audible and Amazon, and I'm reading like book reviews and trying to find my dark daddy smut books. Because I'm like, oh, those are the next ones I'm going to read. And I'm like, oh, the only motivator I have is I'm literally just reading like dark daddy smut, enemies to lovers, dagger to the throat while kissing. Like I'm fucked up and I'm toxic. And do I need therapy? Probably. But I mean, it brings me joy. It is the only thing that is getting me to read. And honestly, like, reading is what successful people do. And if that means I have to do it through smut, like, I don't see like what the difference is, because it's still like getting my juice is flowing. Not okay. Wait. Scratch that. It's getting my. Oh fuck. Well, she's keeping.
There
that
we
in.
go.
Yeah,
There
there's
it
the
is.
clip.
There it is.
It's-
No, like that's the truth coming out. It's because you just want to. Your motivator is literally porn. Like smut.
Yeah, whatever. And you know what? Like, people are like, oh, that's so gross. That's so gross. All right. First off, porn is like the biggest thing ever. And also, there is plot and there is world building, I'll have you know. God, it takes more than just a sex scene to get me going. I need to know. There has to be world building. There has to be
high
lore.
fantasy.
It has to be high fantasy. It has
There
to
has
be
to be prophecies being fulfilled
God.
and mating bonds happening.
like a love to last the ages. You know what I'm saying?
It needs to be destiny, fate, all those combined.
Yes.
No, I came to this like a similar realization. Like we were talking about how last week, how it's just like it's not just the smut, it's the plot too. But then I think I realized, like, I started listening to other books, and I just listened to like Prior of the Orange Tree, and it's a great book, great fantasy book. But then I realized it's not necessarily like, there was a little bit of smut in it, it was fine, but I realized it's not like good plot that I want. It's like a certain kind of plot that I want. And the plot has to involve some like brooding male figure who's been around for hundreds or thousands of years, waiting for the girl to like change him. And like that's the only plot that interests me.
There has to be like
that's
romance.
what it is.
Dark
it
daddy
needs to be like romance. Like in Prior of the Orange Tree, there was like romance and like all this like, you know, great world building, dragons, really badass female characters, which is like what I love about like the like Sarah J. Maas's books and you know, From
Jennifer
Blood and Ash.
But
But there was not, I was missing my dark daddy.
yeah.
And they were good, but it was just it didn't tick all my boxes. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
So I think that's something I need to work through in therapy. I'm just kidding.
I don't think so. I don't think I'm going to stop. And you know what? It brings me joy. And I don't think it makes me a bad person. I don't think it impacts me in any way. It's a healthy.
It's not hurting anyone.
It's not hurting literally anybody.
Except for Raven. I'm just kidding. Raven's feelings.
Well, see, like, look at this. Now, he's like, why are you so obsessed with Ben Barnes? And I'm like, see, this is why you're a big, dumb fool. I am not obsessed with Ben Barnes. This is Ben Barnes as the Darkling in Shadow and Bone. Like, I just don't understand what's so difficult to get about that. I feel like a lot of people, mostly women like us, they get it.
Yeah.
I don't get why he can't. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah. Anyway.
But those are our demon trash moments. We are addicted to
smut and food. Taurus.
Pisces.
All right, guys, let us know what your demon trash moments are. Let us know how you are a trashy, disgusting little goblin. And we love you. All right, send them in. And we'll be right back after this break. Anchor. Casting that anchor, bitch. Ahoy, matey. Join the millennial rite of passage and start a podcast using Anchor. Anchor is a one-stop shop for recording, hosting, and distributing your podcast. Best of all, it's 100% free and ridiculously easy to use. And now, Anchor can match you with great sponsors who want to advertise on your podcast. That means you can get paid to podcast right away. In fact, that's what I'm doing right now by reading this ad.
We love Anchor because as Demon Trash, we need things to be simple and straightforward because otherwise we're not going to do it.
Facts.
With Anchor, you can even record and upload podcasts from your phone. Also, Anchor makes it super easy for your listeners to support you. We've used a lot of podcast hosting websites in the past, and Anchor is by far our favorite because of its simplicity and, well, it's free.
Yeah, we love that.
It's perfect for if you're just starting out a new podcast or even if you're a podcasting pros like us.
So if you've always wanted to start a podcast and make money doing it, go to anchor.fm/start to join us and the diverse community of podcasters already using Anchor. That's anchor.fm/start. And we can't wait to hear your podcast. Send it to us.
We'll leave you a 5-star rating.
Yes. All right, guys, back to the show. Pretend you're like you're scrolling. pretend like you're scrolling. Stop. If you came across this reading is probably for you.
Like.
Exactly. Guys, that's what we're going to talk about today. We're going to a crazy good intro, guys. I know. Tarot and astrology and like witch talk, spiritual talk, astrology talk, tarot talk. I want to talk all about that because, and even like on YouTube and such, because I feel like, am I wrong? Do you feel like we've talked about this before, like how we, you know, we've talked about this content creator before on YouTube, like watching tarot readings for our zodiac signs on YouTube before. But don't you feel like with TikTok and stuff that it's kind of like exploded, like kind of like to like new heights?
Oh, it's blown up for sure.
Okay, cool. Because I was like, is it just because it's like my algorithm or just like the content that I watch? But I really do feel like it's a big part of it because like there's all these memes going around for it, these boys being like, you know, these girls out here asking for our signs, like our birth times and our birth charts. Like,
or if like he already knows, like if he already knows his like birth signs.
If he knows his natal chart.
He's been with an astrology hoe.
Yeah, 100%.
Or have you seen the ones where he's like, oh, I hope I'm throwing down these crystals. And he's like, I hope a thick white girl, witchy white girl doesn't follow me home.
Right.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
he's like throwing down like crystals.
Yeah. So it's like, it's definitely like a thing. And I think that, I mean, again, we love this content and like, I'm really not trying to be shady at all because I love this content. I really feed into this content. And whether like we vibe with it or take away from it is like, whatever, you know what I mean? Like, but there are times where I'm like a little sus of the content.
You're sus? Like for me, like if I come across a TikTok that says like, if you came across this TikTok, a Gemini's obsessed with you, like for me, like that's Bible. Like, of course there's a Gemini obsessed with me. TikTok told me so.
Okay, you're kidding. So I was like, for a second, I was like, okay, like, but you said something to me last week that I take everything you say too seriously because I'm a gullible person and I'm very trusting. So sorry. There are readers and astrologers out here doing readings on pop culture, finances, what crypto or stocks to invest in based off planetary alignments and the phases of the moon. There are people out here telling you your reading or like your horoscope. There's like the reading for the day, week, month, year, decade, life, life.
There's like astrology and then there's tarot reading and there's just
there is so many people, and I just notice a lot, like there's kind of like an uptick in people wholeheartedly believing what these people say, literally taking the advice given and fully following it. Like to a T, like to a T, especially when it comes to like finances and stuff. Oh, there's even I've seen some for like protesting and political uprising, what to look out for. How
really?
Yes.
Oh my God.
Yes. But what really started to get me was that I saw like the TikToks where it's like, you know, stop. This reading's meant for you. And I remember specifically seeing this one creator, I won't say who because I'm not trying to be shady, but they were pulling cards. And I don't have like, I'm not an expert when it comes to tarot, okay? I'm not. But I've done a few personal readings. I have my own tarot cards. I have books for it. And I remember like him pulling a card and saying, like, it was the first card, and I just remember like he said in his TikTok that this card meant something and that something was coming, and it was like someone's trying to be shady towards you and all of these things. But like the card I knew was like, that's not like not what it meant. But then again, who am I to be like, I think you're wrong.
Right.
But then that's when I saw another TikTok that was from this girl on TikTok. She's like really big on Witchtok, and she did a TikTok about how she's seeing a lot of tarot TikTok creators basically pulling cards and basically being like, you know, they don't know what the fuck they're talking about. Like these, and so then I was like, oh shit, that means there are people out here that I might have been listening to in terms of like tarot reading advice or horoscopes or astrology that actually have never studied it a day in their life. And they picked up a tarot deck and were like, I'm gonna get these motherfucking views. You know what I'm saying? Like, and then I was just like really trying to be like, oh shit, like I started questioning, well, obviously, like I never really like thought about it, but I was like, there has to be some sort of like legitimacy of this because it is kind of a booming industry. First off, it's a booming industry. And it's like, there has to be
the occult and like witchcraft, I feel like has really like blown out because of TikTok. Like
because it's also like, I also want to like, this is kind of like probably controversial to say, but like it's also, I think, like very much like, especially with Gen Z, see it as very much an aesthetic.
Oh yeah, I was about to say that. I feel like it's becoming very like trendy and aesthetic-y to be like to be
interested in crystals, to be interested in tarot, to be interested
in like witchcraft and all that.
But I do think like the reason why I love this content specifically, and I think like you love it for the same reason, is because it is very centered around self-growth. Like it is a lot about manifesting, like specifically I love that kind of content because it is kind of taking an inward look. Now a lot of the people that I do watch have been doing this for years, you know. They're like, and again, to any trashlings who are like, this is such bullshit, like I don't believe in this stuff, that's totally fine. Maybe this episode isn't for you, or you can keep listening and maybe you'll find it interesting. But there are people out here like Reiki masters, people with psychology degrees who, you know, talk to you about manifesting and, you know, say, oh, these crystals are helpful for this, tarot readings to help give guidance and astrology for all of that. So, you know, I think it's great to believe in, but I also do take things with a grain of salt. It's like, you know, if they're doing a reading on you and it's relevant to you, great. If it's not, then it's like, whatever. You know what I mean? Because I've had situations, like we've talked about it before, we've talked about her before, so I'll mention her again, is The Quietest Revolution, Amber Khan on YouTube and Instagram. She's done readings for like for Taurus, right? Where it was literally like to a T, like down to, she gives dates specific. Like she's like, come on the, you know, like on June 14th, for example, this is going to happen, or you're going to have this like turning point. And it was just like, it happened.
How does she know?
How does she know?
Well, I think she's starting to study astrology and stuff now too. Well,
she is very like into that. She does give like a lot of like planetary alignments and all of these things, and so I just kind of realized, and I just see like a lot of like links between tarot and astrology, and I started wondering, like you and I started wondering, like, how is this stuff linked? Like if I'm gonna be a consumer of this content, I feel like I want to like understand it more. I want to understand it more and be able to like know like if what I'm filling my head with is like real, like do you know what I mean? Is that are like what I'm coming across, is this person like authentic? Are they like, have they actually practiced this for years? Or did they just, like you said, pick up a tarot deck? Because I think I think it's getting so popular because it's like, it's getting more readily available. But like, that's the thing though. It's like, that means like anyone can put anything on the internet. So it's like, and then as a consumer, and make money. And then as a consumer, it's like a lot of people like will just like come across something and be like, okay, do you know what I mean? Yeah. And it's like, I don't know. I think this shit is interesting and I just kind of want to break it down. So we thought, let's call a fucking expert. And so we did. We called our witch, that bitch, Mak Jagger Tarot. She just opened up her space. Like she has her own tarot reading space here in Austin. She's been featured in Forbes. Guys, she's an icon. All right. She knows what she's talking about. She's got a client list. The number is huge. I don't know. I'm not going to say, I'm going to let her say it, but it's fucking massive. And I think that, I mean, there's a lot of people who have been doing this legitimately for a long time with clientele that you wouldn't believe. Like, she mentioned some people that she works with, and I was like, really?
Yeah.
Like, what? And it's like, they're calling for tarot readings? Like, you know, it is, I think, in my own personal opinion, I do think there's a little bit of legitimacy here, but you have to be going to the people who know what the fuck they're talking about, have studied this. I mean, astrology is like math, sis. It is like, they're working with like degrees and like, I don't even know. Like, I can't even like fathom it. It's like, it's so much like literal math graphs. They say things like conjunct. Like squares and eclipsed, you know what I mean?
Who actually knows what that means? Not me.
Experts, scientists, I guess. Like, it's basically like a lot of math and shit. And anyway, so we're gonna talk to her about it and ask some questions about this, because I feel like a lot of us are curious about that and have never really thought about it. It's like, why is it that people are so obsessed with doing tarot readings for their zodiac sign all of a sudden? I just I just never like really stopped to think about it. Like, how is this relevant? And also, like, I have gone through YouTube videos to see like if the Taurus tarot reading was similar to another Taurus tarot reading from a different person. And it was.
Oh, really?
Yes. Very similar. Even some of the same cards.
Wow.
I have done some research, people. I've done research and I've seen it. And I've seen it for Pisces as well. I've seen it for a lot of them. And it's very, very interesting to me. And so I'm really, really excited to kind of break it down, ask her some questions, and really get to the hard-hitting questions. Because there is a legitimacy within this business.
Oh, yeah.
To some extent, whether you believe in it. It's not whether they are, because also I think a lot of people get the confusion between mediums, psychics, and tarot readers and put them all in one group, and that's not the case. That's not the case at all. They're not claiming to do the same things. Yeah. Unless they're claiming to be a psychic tarot reader. Yeah. So I kind of just want to talk about it because I love this subject. I think it's very, very huge, especially on TikTok. I think Zillennials, millennials, we love this shit because, you know, we are looking for answers. We are lost.
And we're looking for people to tell us.
It's a messy world. It is a messy world. But if there's one thing we can rely on, it's the planets. All right, guys, stay tuned. We'll be right back with Mak Jagger Tarot to talk, and it'll be fun.
Hey trashlings, we just wanted to remind you all to follow us on our social medias. We don't want you, our besties, to miss out on any of our content. So make sure you follow us on Instagram at Demon Trash Podcast, TikTok at Demon Trash Cast. With YouTube, we have 2 channels. We have the Demon Trash Podcast channel, which is the one you're watching this podcast on now. And then we also have our Demon Trash YouTube channel, which we just do a lot of fun content, like movie reacts, and we'll be playing games, and we're just our goofy gal selves over there. But you can find all of this info at demontrash.com, which is going to be updated weekly now. So go over there. It has everything.
Also, guys, don't forget to rate and review us on whatever podcasting platform that you are using. It really helps small shows like us out. Give it a 5-star rating. Go on. Don't be shy. And if you have Demon Trash friends, which I know you do because you're a disgusting piece of trash like us, go and tell them. Share it with them. I'm sure they'll like it since you like it, you disgusting piece of trash. And if you like what we do here, you want to help us keep the lights on and spare some pennies, you can support us over at anchor.fm/demontrash. Again, that's anchor.fm/demontrash for as little as 99 cents a month or whatever you feel like shelling over. It is the reason why we have these lights
and this studio space now.
This is Xander, our boy. And you guys help us do all this for you. So thank you guys so much to all the trashlings who are already doing that. We really love you, and thank you so much for your support. All right, back to the show. Hi, Mak.
Hey, you guys.
Hi, welcome. Thank you for coming back and, just hanging out and vibing with us. You said you have a demon trash moment.
I do. I'll keep it really brief because I know we have a lot to talk about today, but I just like felt that you both needed to hear this. So I was like listening on some of your episodes in preparation for today, and I was listening to the one that y'all talked about, like the reasons why women fall in love with serial killers, or like, and like, I learned that like primarily is motivated by women who are attracted to criminals, which I thought was really interesting. Because I've always thought Richard Ramirez was really hot. I was always really relieved to find out that he had bad teeth and like bad breath, because that would have been a turn off for me. Because like I would have fucked him and then been like, well, oh my god, you guys always told you he was weird, but like.
That's the Night Stalker.
Yeah, right? He's so hot, but like, I mean, not the killer people, not the fact that he's a killer, but like just physically, he's like that's my type, and I totally would have like. I would have had sex with him and then been like, oh my god, I told you that guy was a fucking weirdo. But like, anyway, that's not really what I just was like. I learned a new fact because I did not know that women, that's like the motivation. Because like, I definitely don't think serial killers are hot. Now Richard and I are definitely done. Now that I know he's just, a serial killer, and I think he's also dead. Also, the bad teeth it wouldn't work for me. But I was just thinking. I have dated my fair share of criminals. Like, I mean, like,
haven't we all, sis?
I don't really anymore. That doesn't mean I wouldn't. The right one came along.
But is them being criminals the main motivating factor? Are they just hot?
No, they're hot. Okay. And like, honestly, their crime, I don't want to know anything about it. Like, you don't like, so
you murdered a few people. I don't need to know.
Well, no, not that. Like, I mean, I'm more like, Kia said the best head comes from a thug. And I was like, let me test that shit. And she was right. Like, listen, but like, the recently on East 6th Street, like that horrible thing that happened where there was like, so I was thinking like the last time I was in East 6th Street, there was definitely like an active shooter situation. But I was like, I'm from Indianapolis. I've been around some active shooter situations. I was just ordering my pizza. And I like looked over at the guy I was dating. I was like, we were very chill about that. And he like, and then I was like, oh, because this motherfucker's got a gun. Like, we good. Like, we gonna take extra pepperoni. We gonna need that to go. But like, we good. So I was like, that's interesting. But then also today I was like, just Mercury has stationed, which we're going to be talking about astrology, but Mercury is stationed direct. And I don't know if y'all have known, but technology has just been a real bummer lately. And I've been feeling that. And basically this morning I was just like, I knew that I was at my breaking point with frustrations because my internet was so slow. I was listening to a murder podcast and I had to turn it off because I just kept thinking, good for you. And I wasn't sure if I was thinking about the murder or the victims. I think it was both. I was just like really genuinely just jealous for everybody in the situation. I was like, good for y'all. Like, I'm so happy for you. Like, genuinely, I was the happiest I've been for someone in a long time was for both the murderers and the murderees in this podcast. And I was like, I'm going to turn this off. This isn't
like, oh, you died? Wow, good for you.
Anytime an older celebrity dies, I'm like, oh my God, couldn't have happened to a better person. I'm so good for you. When Jessica Mitchell died, I was like, God, good for her.
Yeah, I was like, done and be done with this.
Good. Yeah, right. God, what a treat. What a treat.
What a treat. Always remember. Well, I love that. Yeah, no. Yeah, I think the thing is like, yeah, women just love, I think there's just like a little part of us that likes our significant other to be just a hint of violence.
Well, these are not the violence. In my experience, these are not the they're not the keepers, but they're around for a reason. But don't call me, when shit goes south. I don't want to know about it.
Yeah.
I don't have qualified immunity, so don't.
I'm not gonna get.
Yeah, I'm not getting caught up in that shit. Don't bring it to my house. But like,
right,
it's cool if like that's what you're doing when you're not with me. Like, whatever, it's not my business.
Right. I love that. Keep it over there. Well, great. Well, did you want to intro yourself really quick?
Oh yeah. So I am Mak Jagger of Mak Jagger Tarot. I am an intuitive consultant. I do specialize in working with tarot, as my name might imply. I have actually worked with tarot for about 22 years now, and for the last 4 years it has been my occupation. I do work with clients all around the world. I specialize in working with corporate clients, and I also just opened up a space here in Austin up in the Arboretum. So I have my own tarot loft here, and I have been a longtime partner of Airbnb Experiences. So I also bring in clients from visiting here, but I work with a global client base and established a business in Austin. So that's what I do.
She's an icon, one of a kind. Never
She's
been
a
done
boss
before.
ass bitch.
She's a boss ass bitch. She's our witch, that bitch, Mak Jagger. We love you. Thank you so much for coming in. And we kind of talked about a little bit about this, but we really want to talk about Zillennials, TikTok, and just the boom of astrology and tarot on this platform. And it's big on Instagram and YouTube, but I think really there's just, in the last couple of years, we've really seen it blow up, like on social media.
Even just last year.
Yeah, 100%. For sure.
And so we just have a couple questions for you that we kind of want to break down, because I think I do want to just put in like a sense of like understanding and legitimacy, because I think a lot of people buy into tarot and astrology and they really kind of listen to whoever's pulling cards, right? And I don't necessarily think, that's my opinion, I don't necessarily think that's wise. I think that people should be like seeking out people who maybe know what the fuck they're talking about.
Yeah, I would, as a person who objectively knows what the fuck they're talking about, I would say yes. Basically, so let's take a step back beyond tarot. Tarot is a modality, it's a tool, but divination is the larger practice that they're engaging in. And that's a form of magic. And magic is like Wu-Tang Clan. It's like, it's truly nothing to fuck with. Like, you got to know what you're doing to be a practitioner of magic. That's not to say that tarot can't be useful for anybody at any skill level, because it absolutely can. I'm an advocate of tarot being for everybody if you want it to be. So that's maybe a separate conversation. But anytime we're working with divination, you're going to want to kind of follow a golden rule of take what works for you, leave what doesn't. That's just in the space of divination. Now, if you're looking at the potential of the future, and I am actively, I actively do not make predictions about the future, because it's an ethical violation for me of someone else's agency, which is something that I take very seriously. I follow a code of ethics that I have divined for myself with my guides, and predicting the future is not one of them. But I do talk about the future. And so when I talk to people about the future, I always say, leave room for this to gel and connect later if that's going to be what happens. And many times it does. But you also have agency as how you respond to things, which is really important. So that brings me to my larger point, which is not just about divination, but just about being a human, which is we have little brains up here, and they're designed for critical thinking. And you want to really work on that as a skill. Critical thinking is a skill. And so anytime anyone's trying to convince you of something, and it's not to say I'm ever trying to convince anybody of anything, because trust me, I am not. But if you are taking anyone's advice, be it your intuitive consultant, that's what I do, or if you are taking, honestly, your lawyer's advice, like your doctor's advice, which I'm not a lawyer or a doctor. Please do not ask me about legal or health things. I will tell you to go to see a lawyer or a doctor. But anybody who's kind of presenting themselves as an authority over something in some sort of space, please check their credentials. Please get a second opinion if you need to. Please trust your instincts. There's so many things that go into what you might receive from a tarot reading, and it really shouldn't just be what I say to you. It should be really more what that sparks in your own experience to really like get the most out of it. Right.
Which brings me to our first question, which is, because we did kind of preface all of this with saying that there are people out here essentially working with astrology and tarot, giving things like financial advice, what to invest in based off, the alignment of the planets, phases of the moon, your sign, all of it. And so how do you even know who's an expert? I mean, are there credentials? Somebody has a fucking plaque on the wall that has a degree. Does that exist within your work?
Okay, so we're going to need to break down probably a lot of that, because here's the thing. So, for instance, I am not a therapist. I don't have that license, did not go to school for that. I am in therapy. Everyone should be. Based on my story earlier, I went to therapy today. We're working on it. But I think,
aren't we all?
I'm not a therapist. So, but I work in a similar way. And a lot of times people tell me, oh, a lot of what you're saying has been coming up in my therapy sessions. Great. If you are interested in working with mystical sources for your financial life, that's not a bad idea. You're going to want to work with whatever tools you can. Work with an accountant too. Work with an expert too. Work with someone who knows the markets. Yeah. And also maybe work with an astrologer. You know why conservative politics are what they are today? Ronald Reagan, and Joan Quigley. Who's Joan Quigley, you might ask? Ronald Reagan's astrologer. That's the reason why this shit still actually is around, because he planned it with the planets. But he also consulted more than just Joan Quigley on his decisions. He also, I mean, I'm sure experts I disagree with, because fuck Ronald Reagan, but he did also consult experts, and Joan Quigley, he consulted both. And so look, that shit's still in place. So if you want to make smart financial decisions, I would be talking to both an astrologer who maybe is more in tune with that. And the thing is, astrology is the study of time, and of history. So Uranus is in Taurus right now. So bitch, I would not be investing in nothing, because it didn't go well. Great Depression. Never heard of it. You should look it up. But anyway,
also crypto crashed constantly.
Yeah, Uranus and Taurus don't play, but that is why I'm not investing, because my astrologer, shout out to Eliza, told me not to. But that's also because of history, not because it's really that's in the decisions I make based on astrology are based on things that these planets have done before. So yeah, talk to both would be my recommendation in that space. But to go to your larger question of like, I think we need to define a couple things, because divination is a big umbrella, and most of divination is intuitive, and that's why astrology is it is in the divination sort of larger sphere, but it's something somewhat different, because astrology is deeply technical. It is essentially based in both science and math, and you're working with exact numbers and exact planetary placements. So you really need precise figures there. That's why you need an exact birth time to have a birth chart. So you are working with something a lot more technical than I'm working with when I work with the cards. Now, I am an astrologer and I am a professional tarot reader. I'm an intuitive consultant, but I primarily specialize in tarot. So I do a lot of times bring my understanding of astrology in, but I don't read birth charts. The reason why I don't read birth charts is I'm not good at math. If I'm not really good at math, I'm not going to be the greatest astrologer in the world, and it wouldn't really be fair to be a consulting astrologer. Now, I'm a consulting intuitive consultant that works with, I'm a consulting tarot reader, but the reason why I can do that, at least, and it's not to say that you have to have the amount of experience that I have to step into this space. You don't. I mentor people all the time who are just coming into tarot. I happen to have worked with the cards for 22 years, but I also, where my experience comes from is not technical at all. It's my intuition coupled with my experience. And I've worked with thousands of people all around the world, thousands of different types of people, and I've seen a lot of shit. And I connect that with the cards. And I've also been doing this for most of my life. So that's when you're working with someone like me, you're buying that expertise. Okay. And that is credible, right? I have hundreds of reviews online. You can also talk to lots of my clients. Like, I have lots of verifications for my skills, but those are all going to be based on someone's experience. And so it's not going to be nearly as definitive as something like astrology, where there are certifications that one can, and I would recommend should, sit for and essentially become certified as the way you become certified with anything else. It's the ISIR is the main one. And most of the consulting astrologers that I know of, that I trust, that I personally get readings from, are ISIR certified. Maybe not every single one of them, but you can start to really, once you start to understand astrology yourself, you know kind of who knows what. And a good rule of thumb is like, are they just telling you something, or are they talking to you about what the planets are doing and why? That's what you're going to want to look at. And you're also going to want to maybe consult a few people to kind of see if there's a consistency. Different readers are going to interpret different planets in different ways, but at the same time, we're working off history. We're working off the knowledge of what these planets have consistently done throughout the entire history of humanity. So we have a lot of data to work with, and you're going to see consistencies there.
Wow. Okay, so it's all so fascinating. I'm just so blown away by the fact that Reagan had an astrologer.
Yeah.
I wonder who Biden's is.
He does not have one. I tell you, he really doesn't.
Is it the Catholicism or is it?
I think it's probably the patriarchal sort of notion that astrology is bullshit, even though it really isn't. But you know what? Keep thinking that, because the thing is, these things align. It's gravity, essentially. Like, I mean, it's not the same thing as gravity, but it works in the same way of gravity. Like, you can not like gravity. You can think gravity's bullshit. You can hate gravity. You're still going to fucking fall if you fall, right? Like, what goes up is going to come down. And the planets are going to be what the planet's going to be. Your internet ain't working today because Mercury just stationed out of retrograde. That's why this is feeling the way it is. Right. And you can like it, not like it. It is what it is, right? Mm-hmm. But if you want to arm yourself with understanding it, then you can prepare yourself and respond to it. If you want to do that, by all means, it makes your life easier. I know for a fact it makes my life a hell of a lot easier. But do you?
Yeah. yeah, I guess that's with everything though, right?
So then is there a difference between like someone who's a like intuitive tarot reader and then like a psychic? Or someone who,
yeah, I mean, so again, we're going to kind of just like be talking about different modalities. So some psychics might use tarot. Some people, you know, there's different modalities of doing divinatory work. I specialize in tarot. That's what I do. I don't read palms. I don't read runes. I don't do numerology because I'm bad at math. So I don't do those things. One of my dear friends is primarily a palm reader, but she does all kinds of things. She's an intuitive painter. She actually painted the mural in my space. She does cards. She does bones. She does lots of things. But she's a specialist in palmistry. There's many different sort of nuances and different tools we can utilize to sort of, in my definition, divination is being able to cross over that barrier. So yes, you would say, I mean, that does, I guess, fall under the realm of psychics, but there's like mediums, and that's an ability that I have actively chosen not to tune into. The dead, right? Right. There's all kinds of different, there's like essentially like there's clairaudience, clairsentience, like there's all, basically the 5 senses, there's like a layer of that, and you can develop those skills. Now, some, like I think everybody can essentially has like some that they are more heightened to, but some people just choose not to tune into it. And then for me, I was like, I don't want to be a medium. Like, absolutely fuck not. No. Now, it's in my code of ethics that sometimes I do it if the certain cards indicate certain things, but it's not particularly comfortable. It's just something I feel like I should do. I also made a deal with my guides to sort of tune out anything that isn't sort of in that space, and that's between me, my guides, and my clients. But you know, that's an active choice that I've chosen not to develop those skills. So I would say a psychic is maybe another type of divinatory professional, or maybe a larger umbrella, but I prefer the term intuitive consultant because it does better with bookings. Yeah, corporate clients are much likely to hire an intuitive consultant than they are a psychic, and so that's the term that I use.
Gotcha. Well, so going back to like the content and social media and like the impact it's had specifically with your line of work is, I just find that it's just become sort of, I don't necessarily think it's entirely my algorithm but I do feel like just we're absolutely inundated with it because first one, I think it's become sort of like an aesthetic, and
absolutely,
and which now everybody wants tarot cards, everybody wants crystals, everybody's working with that. So, but one thing I want to know is is there an appropriate amount to consume this content? Is there such a thing as too much tarot? Because, you know, Avery brought up earlier, like there's just like, it feels like there's like, we don't only have readings for the day, we have it for the week, the year, the next 10 years, my life, you know, the planet, the existence of the planet. And I just wonder, like, is there too much? Do we really need to be pulling cards this much?
Absolutely not. Like, I love water. I stay hydrated. Too much water gonna kill you. Yeah. Like, there's too much of a good thing always. So yeah, you definitely want to put limits on the ways in which you're working with divination or magic in general. So great example of this. My dear friend and mentor, celebrity astrologer Aliza Kelly, who has a massive following on social media, on TikTok and on Instagram, has consistently deals with fucking bullshit from a bunch of kiddos who get all pissed off when astrologers like Aliza tell you need to, you know, it's good advice, it's good spiritual hygiene to pause your manifestation practice during eclipses. Eclipses are too volatile to do magic during. It is truly basic shit. And these kiddos get very upset about it and like, you know, like getting up in our DMs and shit. And it's like, you can't do magic all the time. You have to pause. That manifestation is about casting the spell and then taking your hands off the wheel so it can come into your life. And that is the most vital part of it. So you really cannot be doing magic all the time. Now, I say that as a person who does magic 50 plus hours a week, usually professionally. So I do magic all the time, but I do it for different people. And the thing about tarot is you got to get your insight from it and then apply that insight. It's just like anything, right? You could go to 40 different therapists, but if you're not integrating the wisdom, it's not going to work, you know? And that's the same thing with any sort of divination. So yeah, there is absolutely a limit to how much you want to consume. Now, everyone has to figure out their own boundaries with that, right? And so I know these algorithms are designed to just inundate you. That again, critical thinking, got to be a conscious consumer. You have to take personal responsibility and monitor and manage how much you're consuming, just like how many Cheetos you eat, or whatever else you need to monitor your consumption of. This is definitely no different from that.
Right. And I kind of just feel like something that you said, I also feel like, because I do hear a lot about manifesting, and I'm so glad you mentioned the eclipse thing, because so many people on TikTok are out here giving advice on like things that you can do during the eclipse, during whatever, to heighten your manifestations. And it's like, oh, okay. Now, I didn't know that. But it also begs to question if manifestation, not manifestation, the practice, but sort of has been kind of become tainted and used as a term to kind of push hustle culture.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I think we've talked about this before.
Positivity episode.
No, I think it's absolutely intertwined. That's just not how manifestation actually works. So like, I laugh when you said like heightening your magic during all those sweet summer children. Y'all are in for some shit you don't even know. Best of luck, thoughts and prayers.
My question is, so like, if someone is saying this stuff, it's like, is it like, what should I assume, that they're either just pulling it out of their ass, or like, where are they getting this? Like,
right.
Who would I go to like actual get real advice, or like who's legit?
Experts
like in
me, there are people that have proven their credentials through experience. People that I talk about Eliza, and Eliza, she has a great social media following, but she's a really legitimate astrologer. She studied under Annabelle Gatt, who is another mentor of mine, who is I think we're the same age, but she's been working with astrology since she was a child. So she is, one of the greatest living astrologers, in my opinion. You can look to somebody like Jessica Lanyadoo, who's so generous with the free content that she gives out. You could look to Chani Nicholas. I mean, there are these sort of celebrity astrologers that are very legitimate. You could also look to the Astrology Podcast by Chris Brennan. It's not super glamorous. Every episode's about 3 hours long. Those are legitimate astrologers. Those people who make their money doing astrology, which is why you don't hear about them, because they're busy making money. Like, that's what they're busy living. They're busy just doing the work of astrology, because it's not that glamorous. Right. Astrologers have been around forever. We're going to be around forever. It's just honestly just a career like anything else. And you know what? I'm grateful that it's having a moment, because it brings more clients to me. It's like free advertising for me in that way, in a lot of ways. But
you're saying seeing it everywhere, tarot, astrology everywhere.
Right. The trendiness.
The trendiness of it.
The
aesthetic of it.
But it won't last, right? And so I can't build my career on that, because I need sustainability. I need clients. Yeah. So and it's consistent throughout time. And Lanyadoo has spoken on this at length. Eliza has spoken on it. Chris Brennan has spoken on it. All credible people I mentioned. Astrology, witchiness, esoteric arts, they're trendy, and they tend to align with when there's a lot of uncertainty in the collective. So, but you see it consistently. I mean, they remade the craft for a reason. We had the craft when I was a kid too. Yeah. So these things come in waves. It did. But these things come in waves, and that's why a lot of the people that are the real deal astrologers that have done this work day in and day out since, for decades, aren't really getting super caught up in it, because we know that's not sustainable. And we also know there's going to be a backlash, and just as much as we're being benefited right now by this like trendiness, we're going to also have to deal with the fucking backlash.
And we definitely want to go into that later, but before we get into that, because I think like that's going to be what we want to, so stay tuned.
Sure.
I going back to this sort of trendiness, I feel like where we saw the trend come in is sort of the love for horoscopes. Yeah. We love our signs, don't we? Mm-hmm. We love it. And I think like it kind of built with astrology, especially the blow up of tarot, because we started seeing general readings for tarot for your sign.
Right.
And that's where I believe it started on social media, and it's just blown up because they have to be able to read for a collective. They have to be able to read generally. So a lot of online tarot readers and astrologers do general zodiac readings for the month, for the week, for the year. does your sign impact your reading at all? Do you like
it could?
Yeah.
I mean, so I have a Patreon because, like, once again, I don't do this for fun and I don't do it for free. I do it for professionally. So I do have a Patreon, and I do a lot of the similar things that people do for free on the internet to my paying clients who have worked with me for a long time. I am deeply grateful for them. We build relationships together. And one of the services I provide exclusively for them is I will work with the tarot from a more astrological perspective. I will be considering their charts. I will be talking to them about astrological ongoing events that are occurring that's affecting them, and we do rituals each month around it, and I do pull a card each month for each sign. I encourage people to look at their chart, see where these things are occurring in their chart, and see where they can apply this advice. So what I do is I'm like, okay, so this is the card I'm pulling for Gemini, so what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to look for where Gemini is in your chart, and this is where you're going to see this type of activity occurring. So that's like how you're going to want to apply that. So I'm looking at what, like, Gemini energy, I'm understanding what's going on in the sign of Gemini in the sky, and then talking about that through the lens of the tarot. So yes, I do provide that service for a very niche and very small group of people. Well, not super small. Join my Patreon. Join us. But for people that are invested in the service. So I do think that is a valid way of reading tarot if you're thinking about it from like that technical perspective. I also understand if you're trying to reach a large audience, you need to sort of make things more specific to certain people, and I get that. Do I think that's particularly valid? I don't know. Like, I have a dear friend named Natasha who is a fan. You should follow her, Natasha Reads _ on Instagram. She's fantastic. And she does do a lot of readings for each individual sign, and they resonate with me deeply because I know Natasha's character. I also know the caliber of her work, and I also know that she knows what she's talking about when she's talking about Virgo energy. So I know her because I trust her because I know she's legitimate. So I also, I know other people in my colleagues in the industry that do more general readings, maybe not that way with like signs, that I know are doing legitimate work, that are tuning into something that's resonating with me, resonating with the collective. I do think it's absolutely possible. I just think with the amount of people doing it, I'm very skeptical, and I also have concerns of the inundation of how much content people are taking in without the ability to apply it. Now, if you're getting something out of it, I'm not here to tell you that's invalid, right? But you're certainly not getting the same thing that you're going to get with a session with me, because it's not possible, right? Like, for someone
do you mind breaking that down a little bit? You said you're concerned about the inundation of the amount that people are getting that.
Right.
Can you break that down? What exactly do you mean by that? Is it specifically by taking in, like, for example, me, like a Taurus reading, like taking in too many? Is that what you're trying to say?
Yeah, because it's going to give you just like so much information. How could you ever apply any of it?
I see.
So is it kind of like, if you're taking in too many, like, how are you going to follow any sort of advice if you're just getting way too much advice?
Exactly. And also, I haven't seen your birth chart, but I'm willing to guess that you don't have every planet in Taurus. So you're only really looking at a very specific part of your life.
Right. Actually, I guess I want to ask that too, because I've also seen this as like, so for me, I'm a Taurus sun, Leo moon, Leo rising.
Ooh, I got to tell you something, babe.
Yeah.
You don't be looking, you can want to do Taurus horoscope secondary, but sis, you got to be looking at Leo.
That's what I've heard. So I always look at Leo.
Good.
Because I heard
good.
that.
Sorry,
like,
I didn't mean that felt like a little bit condescending, and I didn't mean it to be. I apologize.
Not at all. I don't know what the fuck I always want to hear because I'm interested. But like, that's the other thing of like, I feel like people are always checking for their sun sign.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
Like, okay, so you could apply that. I would apply your sun sign secondary. I happen to be the same sun and rising sign, so I got lucky. I only have to read the one. I do have a Pisces moon. I don't really read. I hit the microphone. I don't really read Pisces as much. I mean, some things resonate with me, but it's not really the way I'm taking in advice. The reason why you're going to run a read, your horoscope from your rising sign is that determines where your chart is. And so when someone is, so a legitimate astrologer is not just going to be like, you're going to have a great week in your career. They're going to say, in your 10th house, you have this activity occurring. So that could mean these things in your career. So if you are a Leo rising sign, that's going to be determining where your 10th house is. Your 10th house is going to be, because I'm a Virgo, so your 10th house would be, I'm trying to do astrology. This is why I'm not a consulting astrologer. Your 10th house would be in Cancer. So you're going to want to kind of look at that, right? And so that is how you're going to want to receive that information. If you're reading it for Taurus, it's going to have your 10th house in the wrong place. So it actually won't affect your career at all. It's going to affect some other part of your life.
Holy shit. Okay, see, even then I'm like, damn, I'm learning stuff. And the thing is like, there is so much content out there that I have been watching that I have been trying to apply to my life that I guess wasn't even working for me.
But it comes back to, if you got a piece of advice out of that and it resonated with you and it helped you make a healthy decision, I don't know, right? Who's to say that was bad? Like, I don't think it's fair for me to say that's bad, but how could you parse that out if you're taking in just so much all the time?
Yeah.
So that's where my concern is. And it's not to say that it isn't a healthful practice to find practitioners that you like and to view their content. If they're being generous enough with their time and energy to put free stuff out there for you, that's such a wonderful gift that they're giving you. If they are someone who you've vetted and you can trust, what a wonderful thing that someone would be offering. Like Chris Corsini is a great example of a person who does monthly readings for the collective for a sign. But you're going to want to apply that wisdom to where that part is in your chart, right? So you could watch all of his readings because you got 12 signs in your birth chart, right? We all do. But that's such a wonderful gift that Chris gives, right? To the collective, but he is a very legitimate practitioner.
Right.
So I feel confident sending, his content into the world or co-signing on it or sharing it with my clients or sharing with my friends because I trust him. That is not necessarily going to be, and I think, true of a lot of folks. And it's not to say that they can't enter the space or have something to say, because I don't think that's fair. But I do think it is important that you consider, just like anything in an industry, you got to kind of look to your elders, those who have been doing it for a long time, and kind of see that we have wisdom that you probably don't have because you don't have the experience.
Right. Gotcha.
Because I don't think any part of this discussion should be like prohibiting people from like wanting to get into tarot.
No, please, absolutely not. But absolutely not.
I think just like for me, it's just be careful of the advice you take. Make sure it's not just from someone who's trying to like ride the waves of this aesthetic to gain followers and popularity versus someone who is actually a practitioner of this and has a lot of knowledge.
Yeah.
And is either like certified in astrology or like has a lot of experience in like clients and years with tarot. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, because, and this may sound shady and I hope it doesn't, but I'm going to say it anyway. I think there are some of these TikTokers out here who bought a deck and are pulling cards. And now I could be completely ignorant in this and you can help me with this because I want to learn.
Yeah.
I think I have always thought, my understanding were that tarot cards, every tarot card has sort of a meaning, like it means something, it represents something. So I wonder, are there people out there just buying a tarot deck being like, I'm going to take advantage of these views, this aesthetic, this trend, and I'm going to pull cards and act like I know what the fuck I'm talking about. Is that possible, or do tarot cards have a meaning based off the intuition?
So it's both. Yeah, I do, and I think so, and I think the answer is both. So and I do coach folks in working with the cards, and I do kind of teach the basics. Also, when I do teach, I teach from my experience. I'm like, okay, this is the way I've seen this show up in a number of different ways over the course of 22 years. So but in general. So let's just talk specifically about the minor arcana. So there's two portions of the tarot deck, the major and the minor. We're going to set the major aside, just talk about the minor, which is essentially structured after a standard playing card deck. So you start to pretty quickly pick up on all of your cups, all of your pentacles, all of your wands, all of your swords. They kind of have a general meaning. And that's also true of like all of your aces, your twos, your threes. So it starts to become like this like chart you can build in your head where you see these two things intersect. But like if I were to pull the Ace of Cups and be like an emotional new beginning and then stop there, you would be like, okay. I would need to say more, right? And so, but there's many different ways an emotional new beginning can take hold. So I'm going to be looking at the cards around it. I'm going to be thinking about what I'm picking up on you. If we work together for a long time, I'm going to be thinking about what the cards have indicated. I'm not going to ever be trying to put myself in your head, but I'm going to be contextualizing things. Now, I'm the type of reader who doesn't want to ask you a bunch of questions or have you ask me a bunch of questions going into it. That's a particular style. It's actually not the most common style. Most of the time, and honestly, I think it's a good practice is to like have a dialogue about like, this is what I'm trying to figure out, don't make the reader try to like prove to you their skills, but Like
Right.
at the same time, I think it does it at the end of the day, it's like what's resonating with you. But if you're finding you're watching video after video after video and it's all resonating with you, girl, do you know what resonates with you at all? Maybe this starts with you, right? Like that's where the journey starts, right? So I think that's where you're going to want to maybe just like put the phone down, maybe keep the phone up, but just like therapists, like get your therapist out, talk to her about it.
Right.
Or them, maybe not he, you know. She or them. And yeah, that might be where you want to go with that, you know, but that's I think, yes, to answer your question more specifically, yes, there is a basis of what we're working with, but it's also, that's not really the art of reading tarot, right? And that's not really the benefit of working with someone like me either, is you want to understand how this resonates in a bunch of different scenarios and situations, and it's my job to tell you a story. I just tell people a story, and the cards support the story I'm telling.
Right.
That's really all I'm doing.
Would you agree though, like with this statement, I don't think that person should be out here coming off as a credible source?
No, absolutely not. I don't think they should be coming off as a credible source, but
Sweetie,
I mean,
practice your tarot, learn your tarot, do your thing.
Right.
But I don't think you should be coming off and selling merch and
right.
getting lots
But
of
also,
followers.
I want to say,
it seems to me, it just feels like it puts like almost like a scam.
it's a scam, right?
Yeah,
but I also want to say I am pro scam. Like Joey and the Scammer is an icon. Yeah. So like. And the thing is like you're not scamming on me because they're gonna pay you their whatever, and then they're gonna realize you don't know shit, and then they're gonna come to me to fix it, and I'm gonna be like, oh, okay, and then they're gonna become my client. So
Icon.
Keep on rocking in the free world. Like I also whatever, like ride the wave. You're not really taking money out of my pocket, so I'm like not really concerned about you.
Right.
Now do you legitimize the practice overall? Yes, but we've been dealing with that shit forever. So I mean, whatever. It's same old shit, different fucking decade. Like, okay.
Yeah. Yeah. I thought, okay, work. Okay. All right. That's good. I like that outlook. I also I think I showed you some of these, but these are like really popular on TikTok and Instagram. You're scrolling. Stop. If you came across this reading, it's probably meant for you.
Right.
How do you feel about that? Because our roommate's younger brother, he is a practicing witch, and he really does not like that because what did he say? He said he just feels like it's just not legitimate. It's too general. And also it's fair to say that it's probably has something to do with your algorithm.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it comes back to like the essentials of critical thinking, like vet your sources. I just think,
do you think it's like, it just is like what you said, like you can take what you will from it. And if it works, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't.
You got to consider you're going to get what you pay for.
Mm-hmm.
A free reading's a free reading. I was at a bar the other night, and like this is something that happens a lot with like burgeoning intuitives that don't know how to handle it, and like maybe also need a lot of therapy. Like they just want to like tell you things, and that's really like a consent violation. So please don't do that. But she did say some shit that was very real, and I was like, "Girl, you got talent. You also got problems. So like let's work on those first." But like you ain't wrong, so. But you get what you pay for, right? And so I think let's be really generous here. Let's make generous assumptions as Dr. Brene Brown would have us. And let's say these kids just really are excited about like their intuitive abilities and it's resonating with people and they just really want to get it out there. I think that's cute, right? I think that's cute. It's also like works for me because then people are going to come and like get real services for me. So thank you. Love it. Keep on keeping on. And maybe one day, like you'll build it up. And maybe right now, you might be making a little money from this. Like you might be doing well. It's not going to last unless you put sustainability into it. Like it's not going to last until there's a reason why I'm not out here doing free readings, right? Baby, I got a Versace watch on. But I don't have that time, right? I gotta watch. I don't have time. Like I got business to do, right? But everyone has to start from somewhere. Everybody has to kind of find their way. Everyone has to build their confidence, which is another thing. Now, what I would like seriously recommend to any burgeoning readers out there, if you want to read for people and you don't really have the skill set to charge for it, donations, baby, donations. Let them pay you because your time is valuable. Even if your skills aren't, your time is. So charge for your time. Let them pay you what they want, and then that also helps validate your skills and build them up. And you're not just like putting a bunch of free shit into the ether that may not be actually bringing you back what you want. Because we have to think about too, when you're putting all this out here, because we're talking about the harmful effects of it, right? So if you're contributing to harm, you're doing harm.
Right.
So make it, like if this has value, if you believe it has value, then you should be charging for your work.
Right. Gotcha. And then as a consumer, it's just, you get what you pay for.
You get what you pay for.
And it's free. And if it works for you, it works for you. If it doesn't, it doesn't. All right. I think that's fair. Is there anything else you wanted to ask?
This is kind of a jokey question, but I came across this TikTok a few weeks ago, just as it's kind of an astrology question. So this was a TikTok about powerful duos, and they said this is completely a joke, but they said
be honest, you mean it.
Pisces and Taurus are a very powerful duo. We really understand each other, but we'll get nothing done.
So once again, this is pop astrology, and pop astrology just isn't really going to paint a full picture for you. So if we got two individuals and one has a Pisces stellium and one has a Taurus stellium, they're both sort of dominated by those planets, that might be true. Am
I dominated by Leo though, since I have them as a moon and a rising?
I would have to see your whole chart to really have a full understanding. I would say yes, probably more so than Taurus, but I have to see your whole chart to see, where you might have just those two Leo planets and nothing else, which wouldn't be a full stellium. It would just be a few planets. So, but I think you have to understand how vast astrology is, how vast just your own chart is, right? So if you're just thinking about your sun sign, you really, maybe you identify with some of those archetypes and great, right? But that's not really what astrology is. That's just sort of something silly and fun. It's not real. And it's not to say astrology is real or not real. That's not the debate I'm really interested in. I do charge $1,000 an hour to debate the veracity of astrology. So I'm not going to do that right now unless someone wants to pay $1,000, in which case Venmo, Mak, MAK-JAGGER.
Linked.
And I'll send you a Zoom link. But what I'm trying to say here is that astrology is way more vast and way more complex. We were talking about earlier, I was saying, if you want to think about astrology as a sandwich, it's a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. The time is the peanut butter. History is the jelly. People are the bread, and the solar system is the plastic bag that the sandwich is in. And that's basically all it is. But at the same time, it's a classic for a reason. And it's it transcends sort of this really sort of pop astrology. But why pop astrology has been so demonized is because it's bullshit. That's the point. It's bullshit. But once you start to learn the basics of astrology, like I said, a legitimate astrologer is not going to tell you something's going to happen in your career. They're going to tell you it's happening in your 10th house. And that's a distinguishment to take a look at.
So we actually don't know if we're a powerful duo yet.
No.
Well, also, I have a friend of mine recently was talking to me about how she thinks it's wild that I don't know my best friend's chart. I don't know my parents' chart. If I'm dating a person, I don't want to know their chart because you want to get to know the person. You don't want to date or the chart. My best friend is my best friend, not because of her planetary placement. She's a Libra sun, and that's literally all I know. And that's fine because that's not what makes her my best friend.
That's
right?
refreshing to hear something like that from you, because I do feel like that's that classic meme lately from the patriarchy about is she asking for your birth date, you're dating an astrology hoe and all of that, or you see those memes everywhere, and I feel like there's kind of become this sort of meme and joke of people are constantly asking oh, what's your sign? What's your sign? Are we compatible because of that? And I just think it's
they be want to know people's whole birth charts.
Yeah, right.
And it's probably not a healthy way to approach a relationship.
It's not. And but the thing is, once again though, if this is getting people interested in astrology and that becomes a tool that helps them navigate through this very hard world,
right?
Wonderful. But make sure you're using it. I guess use it to the fullest extent it works for you. So if sun sign astrology is all you have the capacity for, then that's perfectly fine, right? I don't know much about crystals or oils. I go to people that do, but I have some, right? Because they're fun to me, but I don't really know what they mean because I'm not someone who studies that stuff. And so I think work with what works for you, leave what doesn't. The golden rule of divination. But I have a question for y'all.
Yeah.
Okay, so I am notoriously like not on TikTok. I literally passed my threshold of 1,500 followers on Instagram the other day, and that was a big deal to me. Not because it's obviously a very small number in the concept of things, but those are 1,500 clients. Only the people that follow me on Instagram are people that are my clients for the most part. So I've never really been sold on social media as a good use of my time because I don't do free shit. You know that. But I was talking to my nail girl the other day. Shout out to Foxy Claus in Austin, Texas. And she was talking to me about, how she does get business from just the basics of running her TikTok. And I can always take more business, maybe. We can always have more Versace. So don't get me wrong. I love my work. I love my clients. Anyone who works with me knows that. But I don't do this shit for fun or for free. I do it for work. So tell me how can I make TikTok work for me? How can I translate that into dollars and cents? Because if it don't make dollars, it does not make sense.
I think the best thing about TikTok, if I'm honest, is I like to laugh. I do like to learn, but I like to laugh.
Okay,
and
cool.
And if I can like get some sort of information downloaded quickly, but in a fun way, great. And if you're not interested in doing like pulling cards on TikTok, I don't think you have to, because
it sounds like it's a saturated market, right?
Yeah, exactly. But I would love to, what you had mentioned something earlier of like, if there is this stuff going on collectively, I'd love to hear from an expert on how to navigate the week based off what you're seeing in the collective. That's something that I would generally love to see. Also, just like cute aesthetic stuff. You have a new cute space.
I do. See, I have a very visually appealing place in the Arboretum in Austin, Texas. It's very cute if I do so myself. And so I probably should be, using this medium to reach the people where the people are. I was thinking, mostly TikTokers. At first, it seemed like it was a bunch of kids. I'm like, kids don't have any money. But now I know lots of people are on TikTok. So
everybody's on TikTok.
Yeah.
They tell you now, like, if you're not on TikTok, you're doing something wrong. So
right.
Especially when I find like even like what is it like not intuitive consultants, but there's like a lot of people like who have podcasts that we know use like TikTok and like Instagram Reels to just like it's a medium to like give people a bite size of you, because it's like it's only max 60 seconds.
Okay,
max 60 seconds. So like what can you do in like less than 60 seconds that's gonna get someone interested in you and then like
makes sense to me. It does.
Yeah.
And then like how much of those people will be driven to like your business? It's just like I feel like a lot of people like the it could be potentially a lot. Like we even talked about in a previous episode, like there's this one girl on like mental breakdown TikTok who was selling merch.
That's a thing?
And she just posts her.
Oh, honey, yes.
She just
check out her episode.
She just posts her mental breakdowns on like her crying in the
shit,
car,
I could do
and
that.
she sell merches.
Yeah.
You sell merch.
Does anybody want the merch about me listening to the murder podcast and being like, oh, I'm so happy for them?
Yeah, honestly, you could even just post like your rants, because I know you're very passionate about social justice and bringing awareness to things going on in our political systems, and I think that's great. I love hearing other people's perspectives, and I think you could do anything, because at the end of the day, I think if you're putting yourself out there, your clients come to you, people come to you to spend money because of your experience, but they also come to you because they fuck with you. They love your vibe. You know what I mean? And I feel like that's great. Like, and also like, even, I'm even interested, like, just as a person who knows you, I'm like, how does this bitch wake up in the morning? How does she just like wake up and like check, how people read the newspaper and drink the coffee? Are you looking at like cards and like what's your morning routine?
I'm looking at the astrology of the day or the week. I did that on Mondays usually. But that's interesting. Thank you for that feedback, because it does sound like maybe because I do have like with Instagram, which I'm very comfortable with, but I don't really like use beyond anything to keep in touch with my clients and friends that I already have. Like I'm not really using it as a broader marketing tool right now. Somewhat, but not really. But I have like my professional Instagram, which is really just content geared toward my business, and sometimes I repost other things that I think are interesting, but I don't do a whole lot of original content there.
Right.
And then my personal Instagram, which is like where I talk about politics and feminism and all the things that are really personal to me and my identity outside of my work. But it sounds like from y'all, the feedback I'm hearing is like an amalgamation of those two.
Yeah, I'd love that. I the people that I spend money on and I invest in, it's because they, not only do I see that the quality of their work, I love what they do, but I also like their personality. I like the things that they stand for. I'm just, that's the type of consumer I am.
Well, same. I mean, like a lot of the folks that I mentioned today, I've had the, being in this industry, I've had the good fortune of meeting several of them and getting to know them, at least, as acquaintances, not really friends, but acquaintances. And it's because I do genuinely like them as people, and I believe in the character and the integrity of what they're doing. And I know, that they're putting quality work out. And honestly, like I said, I do this work to sustain myself, but I do love it, right? I wouldn't do it if I didn't love it.
I don't think anyone can even argue that. You definitely love it.
Like,
You're very passionate about it.
I love the work. I love my clients. And I want to, it's a way of being of service. It's sort of why I got into it when I did, was to be of service during a time where it felt like a calling. And if that's what these little kids out here are doing, my God, like, Lord bless them. Let's keep it going. Like, that's a great thing, right?
Yeah.
So
that's what we said. We were like, we're out here, us millennials and zillennials. What do we love about this? We want answers. We want meaning. We're searching.
We need help.
Right. And my concern is that that's not necessarily what the tools are actually designed for. They're designed to help yourself.
Right.
You're not going to get the answers from me,
Yeah.
It's never going to be.
It's the guidance. But it's like we've talked about this before. It's the trap of you just keep reading self-help books, but you're not actually helping yourself.
Right.
You're just stacking and giving those people that money and that coin, but you're really just not fixing yourself. And
there's no substitute for the work ever.
Right. Exactly.
Ever.
Exactly. And I love that you are very passionate about communicating that this is a stepping stone in your work. Like, so I just think that that's great. I had a therapist said to me recently, my therapist was like, I'm not doing my job if you continuously keep coming back to me after so long. Right. Now, I think with tarot, it's like a different reason, like different thing. It's not necessarily therapy because you're not necessarily.
It's not. I'm not a therapist. And I really recommend having both. And don't treat me like I'm your therapist. I'm not.
Yeah.
But I do think it is. But here's the thing: I work with different clients in different ways. I have a Patreon, so I can sustain the clients that want to work with me very frequently. That's not the majority of my clients. It's a small portion. The majority of my clients I see anytime from once a year to a couple times a year to as needed as necessary. And that's perfectly fine, because once they've had an experience with me, they know when to come back to me when it's time.
Yeah.
And so I'm always open to like broadening my client base and adding more, which is where I think TikTok could come in and be helpful, because I do want to reach more people that I can genuinely help. But the thing is, my time is extremely valuable. So is yours. And so you have to be invested in the work we do together for it to matter.
Right.
And I think that's important to consider too.
Yeah. Well, we've covered a lot, and I think you had mentioned earlier, and I think this is going to be our final question, and I think it's going to be the biggest, juiciest one.
Cool.
You talked about you alluded to an impending backlash, and which leads me into: are there any astrological events coming up that you think the collective and the world should know about and be ready for? And kind of, I want you to break down the backlash portion, and then if that plays into any astrological events or anything that you think we should know about.
Absolutely. Okay. So again, I think we take a quick step back to look at the thing I was saying earlier about astrology is the study of history and time, and how humans respond to certain energies that the planets bring. So there's a couple signatures that we want to be concerned with. Now I will say we just survived some shit. 2020 was astrologically significant in a variety of ways, and a lot of the things that played out were very much very much aligned with historical significances of those planets. But some of the things that are happening, it's interesting. We've been talking quite a bit about cryptocurrencies today.
Yeah.
Uranus is in Taurus, and the last time Uranus was in Taurus was the Great Depression, was the Dust Bowl, was the New Deal, was the forming of the FDIC, and also many different things, innovations around basically food and money. So beyond meat, that's a big Uranus and Taurus signature. Cryptocurrency, whether or not it succeeds, whether or not the market's sustained, the housing market's crazy right now. All that is Uranus and Taurus. Uranus and Saturn are in a square basically all year. Saturn loves order, structure. Saturn is daddy. Happy Father's Day, Saturn. We appreciate you. Whatever. Just kidding, Saturn. I ate Saturn peaches on the solstice for Father's Day and to honor Saturn and to ask it to be nice to me. But Saturn is structure and order and big daddy. And Uranus is, as my esteemed astrologer Annabelle Gadd often says, the planet of unimaginable upgrades, but it's destabilization. It's the tower in tarot. It is destabilizing. And so Uranus and Taurus is destabilizing a lot of the things in our financial networks, in the way we think about food, the things that sustain us. And that's going to go on for, I think, about 4 more years. And I'm not precise exactly when it stops. We still have quite a while. We're about the halfway mark of this particular transit. And it's going to get real funky. Things are going to be very different.
This is sort of a side question then, but there seems to also in TikTok be an uprising of this, capitalism. I don't want to go too into it, but there's a lot of people on TikTok really hating on capitalism and think that it's coming to a crash. Is that Uranus and Taurus?
It's a mixed bag as always, but Uranus and Taurus is there, definitely stirring the pot. Another thing and I'm not going to want to freak people out too much about it. It's a lot to really process, and there's a lot of sort of misinformation about it, but the United States is facing its Pluto return. Pluto is a destructive planet. Pluto is actually really active today. So if you're feeling like destroying some shit, that's why. Most nations don't survive their Pluto returns. It's historically significant that around that mark, it's and the United States has never had one because Pluto takes like 225 years to orbit or something like that. So,
bitch, what the fuck?
Most nations don't live past like 200 years.
Yeah. Well, I mean, not in the form that they're in now, right?
Yeah.
I mean, there are definitely nations that are much older, pretty much all of them except for us. So, I mean, there's just the way the United States is set up, the way that it works, it's not going to be the same in our lifetime. We're going to see probably an upending of that in some way. Does that mean it's bad? No, I think it's fucking great, but it's going to be hard. It's going to be very hard. Another thing to look at more specifically in terms of a backlash to something like astrology or tarot or esoteric practice in general is kind of ongoing right now. The planet Jupiter has recently moved into Pisces. It's now retrograde. It's spinning back toward Aquarius, where it's going to be from the end of July to December. And then from the first half of next year, December to May, Jupiter will be in Pisces. Jupiter in Pisces is actually quite lovely. Jupiter loves to be in Pisces. Jupiter is daddy, but in another way. Jupiter is good daddy. Saturn's bad daddy. Pluto is messy daddy. Pluto's too small to be daddy. But anyway, Jupiter likes to be in Pisces, but Jupiter and Pisces can take things to extremes, especially like disassociation, or you're gonna want to watch your substance abuse or use during Jupiter and Pisces. It just likes to like go hard into things, and one of the traditional associations that we want to look out for during Jupiter's time in Pisces is, and there's a lot of Neptunian stuff happening as well, as Neptune is also in Pisces, cult activity and like hybrid mind stuff and like false profiting and just like all that shit is going to be on the rise in the course of the next year. So a lot of people are tying like the QAnon shit to this, and like there's always like sort of the shady part of wellness culture that's going to be caught up in that. Fuck those people. If you're one of those people, get out. But like that's a concern, right? That's a very big concern. It's a very, very big concern. In just historically in general, which is people love to hate us. They love us until they hate us. And so
specifically like people within your line of work.
Witches, well, just witchcraft in general.
Right.
Those who practice witchcraft. So
people
I
hate
am
witchcraft? What?
Right. And I do identify as a witch, but like, and I mean, some people who do my work don't, but I do identify as a witch. But in general, things that are associated with us as witchy bitches, a lot of times get backlash, and it's going to happen. It's going to happen. And with it, it will wash away, you know, pretty much anybody, I think, who doesn't have a really rock solid, stable career built up through clients. So that's what you're going to want to be like, if you're wanting to play the long game in this industry. And I've only been in this industry for 4 years. So, which is, you know, it's not a lifetime. But I do feel very stable where I am in it and comfortable with the growth that I'm experiencing. And I think I prioritize things in a way that will allow me to create sustainability for myself. But I do think a lot of the trendiness will get washed away, and that will harm me too. Cause I do benefit a lot from this. It is, again, free advertising. Thank you for that. So I do feel like, yeah, there will be a backlash. We'll have to deal with it. It'll be what it is. I know that it's going to come. I don't know when it's going to come. I'm guessing sooner rather than later. And it'll be something that we'll deal with at that time. I'm not particularly concerned about it because I know the quality, the character of my business and the relationships I have with my clients. But I will say, it's something to consider. Just like any trend. It doesn't stay trendy forever. So
gotcha.
It's what it is.
So basically, when's the Pluto return?
So we're already the anaretic degree, so to speak. So we're already somewhat in it. I believe the year 2025 keeps coming up. I didn't honestly. Here's the thing about astrology is we can know these things are coming. We astrologers knew 2020 and the events of that it was going to be chaotic and scary and hard. We don't know specifically how, right? We do know that a lot of the astrological signifiers last year are aligned with mass death events, specifically viral events, and also like upheavals around societal issues. Yeah. So like we had a general idea, right? But it was impossible to say specifically.
Was literally to the day.
Yeah, it was when
astrologically
anaretic degrees. It was when Mars was at anaretic degree after being in Aries for like 6 months because it retrograded there. So anaretic degrees are the last degree before it moves into a new sign. So Pluto's currently at an anaretic degree before it moves into. So basically, really quickly. So you have every year you have a birthday, right? And that's called your solar return because your sun comes around to where it was when you were born. Every 29 years, Saturn comes around. So people talk about your 29th year being your Saturn return, and then your 59th year. It's a tough time. So planets, they come around to where something was formed, and that's the return date. So when we say the Pluto return to the United States, that is Pluto coming back to the exact moment where it was when the United States was formed. And there's a couple different birth charts that folks use for the United States.
When they signed the Declaration?
Well, there's a few different, that's a whole rabbit hole. There's a 3-hour-long astrology podcast just determining which birth chart of the United States is the most valid one. There's so many different ways of thinking about it. But they're all generally around the same time. So we know what degree Pluto was. So the Pluto return is a little bit more affirmed. So when Pluto gets to where it was when the United States was formed, that's going to be the Pluto return. And we are at the anaretic degree, so the degree right before that. So it's the 25th degree of Pluto. That's what it is. So we're at the 24th degree. What year that's going to happen, I honestly don't know off the top of my head. But we are essentially in it because the anaretic degree is like a point of intensity. It's like, so we are, think about it like a TV series. We're in the penultimate episode, and then that will be the finale. Now, will it be the finale of the country or there's a finale of this chapter of it? We don't know, right? But we are coming up to the finale of something.
Wow, this shit is fucking awesome.
What a time to be alive.
I know, right?
It is a time to be alive. For the fuck sure.
Yeah.
Like, and that's why, once again, I'm gonna speak right to y'all, Gen Z, you little precious sweet summer babies. We love ya because y'all are gonna be in for some shit. And millennials, we've been in for some shit too, but y'all you're in it with us now. So if y'all want to get into this as a tool to help you survive it, I highly recommend it. I am here for it. I support it.
Right. I love that. I think we're good there. Like, that's what an amazing way to wrap it up into a beautiful bow of chaos. Beautiful, beautiful chaos. And yeah, I think, man, I love breaking stuff down with you. It's just the best time. I learned so much, and it makes me look at everything in such a cool way. So yeah. So yeah, I mean, again, I just want to plug everything because I know you're making big girl moves, big boss moves.
I am doing what I can with what I got. So I did recently open up my own tarot loft in Austin, Texas, in the Arboretum neighborhood. So it's on 11300 Jollyville Road. Upstairs in the Ethereal Gift Collective, which is a luxury gift shop. And I have my own little space upstairs. It's very cozy.
It's
We got a
gorgeous.
neon light on the
It's so
wall.
cute.
We
So
got
nice.
some really lovely, sexy furniture. It's very genie bottle vibes. My dear friend Larry Hardshapes, who's a wonderful, wonderful intuitive painter and also a great palm reader, did an intuitive painting on the wall. And I also sell vintage clothes. I sell some decks, some spell tools. So you can come to the apothecary side and you can also come say hi to me. I am by appointment only. I also do lots of virtual sessions. If you want to work with me virtually, we can do that as well. So yeah, that's what I do. I do it all the time. So come say hi.
Yeah, and we'll have everything linked down below. And you guys love Mac consistently. Always, you guys are always coming out for her episodes. So we appreciate the support and we love having you here.
Oh, thanks for having me. I had a great time.
Thank you. All right, guys. Well, that's it for today's episode. Thank you so much for listening. And as always, we'll see you guys and speak to you very soon. Bye.